All right, good morning on this beautiful Saturday morning of August 13th, 2022, about 9:04 a.m. for you people in the future and stuff, right? And we've and probably after this I'm going to take a nap, go to the gym. And the reason I'm doing this Saturday instead of a Sunday, it's not going to be a rainy Sunday show, is because I am probably going to load up the kayak this afternoon and probably go kayaking in the morning. There's a lake a couple miles from here. And I figure on a Sunday morning, majority of people will be sleeping in or in church, and hopefully I'll have most of the lake to myself. But so I'm sitting here with my Pac-Man coffee mug this morning, and I hope you can join me with a little coffee because I have a lot of comics to show. We might be here for a little while, and probably going to make some breakfast, take a nap. I know. Coffee, nap, food, not good, not good. And then probably go to the gym and work on the comic book room. I got a ton of books here, and it's time to get them put up and everything, organized, if you will. And gotta tell you, man, this isn't a poor woe is me story here, but sometimes you just have those weeks where you have a lot of things happen and you maintain and you take care of your business and you find yourself drained and you're just like, I can't do this. You drive on to work and you're like, I can't do this today. I can't do this. I need a mental health day or something, right? And you just drive and you escape and you don't really tell people too much because you don't want them to worry because it's not a big deal. You just need a break. And I'm very fortunate. I never take for granted the little things in life that make me happy because those little things can pop up more than the big things that you plan and spend a lot of money on and stuff, right? So basically, I went back to this honey pot I've been going to, right? And if you watch the last couple of videos, I've gotten like Sandman issues and Miracle Man issues and key books and stuff. And they're like $1, $2. And a majority of this stuff is still $1. There's some $2 books in there and all that stuff like that. Not that anybody's really keeping track and stuff. And 2 $5 items that I'm very happy to get. But when I went back there, I was expecting to see the same boxes. I put some stuff back to get later, 5 or 6 issues of Hellraiser to complete that 300 issue set I've been working on the side for years and stuff like that and everything like that. The fun stuff. But there's nothing that rejuvenates you and brings joy to you when you walk in there and you see that the short boxes aren't there, but they put out 7 long boxes. And there's just something about seeing brand new long boxes of comics to dig through that since I was a kid, that just still makes you happy. Even if you're not going to find anything, you're like, ooh, new comics, new comic boxes and stuff, right? So, yeah. Ended up having a good little time like that. It was good stuff. So John C is out there. Good to see you, brother. And be like John C. Like, subscribe, thumbs it up, do all this stuff, and hit that bell. Hit that bell so you know when I'm going to be doing this stuff because I do them at random when I have time or the mood hits me, right? So basically what you're looking at is I have almost filled up a short box with what I have gotten over the last 2 weeks and stuff from the same, from a few places and stuff, right? And we're going to get something out of the way right away. We're going to get some of the stuff that's not going to really blow you away because there's some really good stuff to look at, man, right? But what you see before you is I ended up getting over the last couple weeks 35 issues of The Dreaming that came out. And The Dreaming came out, I think, around 96, and it lasted 60 issues and a special. And it started out as one of those series where it was supposed to fill the gap for Sandman ending. And Neil Gaiman was a consultant, and they were going to take characters from The Dreaming and stuff and do little stories for them with rotating creators and stuff, right? And I'm a sucker for Cain and Abel stories with DC. Oh, John C., I feel like it is. I feel like it is a good haul. I really do. But anyway, but when The Dreaming came out, I hung around for the first 8, 9 issues. Issue 8 is fantastic. It's a Cain and Abel story, Mike Zulli art. If you remember that dude, really great pencils with him. And the backup feature, why I picked it up is because it had extra pages for the funeral of Morpheus the Sandman that they couldn't fit in the book. So that was really smart of them to at least put that extra art out there and stuff, right? But the Dreaming ended up, I was one of those people, man. Anybody that worked on that book of the Dreaming, and I'm not going to pull out the first 6 or 7 issues I've been carrying around and stuff, right? But when the Dreaming came out, it still had the Dave McKean covers. It had some great artists, some interesting stories, but tonally, the tone was all wrong. And the stories didn't really feel like they had a soul. It didn't feel like Sandman. You know what I mean? So, it was pretty rough on the creators that did pop in there. Around issue 20 or 21, they decided to make it a comic book proper, if you will, by having the same cast in the Dreaming: Cain, Abel, Eve, Mer, Pumpkinhead, Corinthian. And they started putting in the new Sandman, Daniel the Sandman, the man all in white and stuff. So from 21 to 60, it's a completely different series and stuff. Pete Hogan, a lady named Caitlin was coming in. Some artists were going on. And I got to tell you, it's different. I don't really recommend it unless you wanted your fix. And the creators, I got to tell you, man, they probably took a beating, but hopefully it was fulfilling for them and stuff, right? So basically 35 issues, Dave McKean covers. I'm not going to bore you with them, but I am going to pop out. If you get one issue, I recommend Sunlight is coming out in the kitchen tonight. If you get one issue, get issue 55. We're going to work on at least showing these books. Very dark covers to begin with. It's Dave McKean. He did just fantastic work on them, right? But issue 55, though not worth a lot of money that I can tell, but the thing is that it has Adam Hughes art, and those Adam Hughes nuts will buy up all his covers and anything he's penciled in them and stuff. And they just get hard to find, even if they don't go up in value. And in this one, it's a little anthology story. They brought in Bill Willingham, all sorts of creators in there. And of course, there's a couple pages by Adam Hughes. So when I got this, I was like, I finally had my hands on it. And I was always curious. And when I got in there and looked, it's because he drew naked women with sort of nipples and stuff, right? So yeah, because of these pages, tastefully done and in context, of course. Issue 55 is hard to get. So if you ever wanted to check out the Dreaming, or if you were never really interested in checking out the Dreaming and you run across issue 55, I recommend just getting it because it is scarce out there. Again, not worth a lot of money. So there we go, man. Just going to let you know. Cain, Abel, Corinthian, Eve, Mervyn the Pumpkinhead, Lucian. If you're a Sandman guy with the TV show going on, jump all that, and we'll be doing some more talking a little bit. Watching my adverts. All right. I guess there's a little extra to the show there, if you will, man. Hello, Gray Man. Good to see you this morning. Morning here. I think you're across the pond. So what are you, 4 or 5 hours ahead of us? So now we're going to get to the proper comics and stuff, right? But after getting this haul, I was ready to come home and relax, kick the shoes off, chill out, maybe do a little reading of what I got. Who knows, right? Having a relaxing day. Had a good day with the comic book hunt. And I'm like, you know what? There's an antique store over here. I haven't been in a couple months, and they don't usually have anything, but there's one dude who has comic book boxes, and he's one of those guys where I don't know where he gets his prices, but he takes great Image 90 books like Brigade and decides they're worth $7 a piece. One of those guys, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, What is with the camera? Sorry, guys. It's slowly leaning over. But when I walked in, there's this one booth in this antique shop, and the guy didn't have comics. And down on this bottom shelf of this antique cabinet he was trying to sell and stuff, I saw something sticking out. And I couldn't believe these. I got these for $5 a piece. From 1973/74, probably more 1974. Inside Comics. For you guys that don't know what this is, I think there's only like 3 or 4, maybe 5 issues. I've never seen any. I'm sure somebody on YouTube has shown them over the years, man. But when you go back before Comic Scene, before Wizard and Amazing Heroes and all this stuff, you had this for your news, your comic book news. It's more of a fanzine, and it did have interviews, and they're highly detailed. Every page is like a newspaper print with little pictures here. And I ended up getting 2 of them. talking about great stuff. The CC Beck interviews. Mark Evanier is one of the writers that was on this. The Dirty Dozen, 12 pros gripe about comics. Nothing's changed in 50 years, guys, close to 50 years. How to Rate Comic Books by CC Beck. Marvel's Kung Fu Color Line, History of the American Adventure Strip. This is a CC Beck cover for this. CC Beck, guys. All right. CC Beck on creating comic book characters. Who Owns Original Art by Steve Ditko and stuff, right? Talking about Harvey Kurtzman. Conversations with Harvey Kurtzman and stuff, right? Very professional, very dry, and very direct. You know what I mean? Like just very tonally different for the time after what we've had over the years. So I was very happy to run across these, right? Especially for $5, man. I'm gonna have to look up and see how many issues there actually were. But what I loved is in one of the blurbs when it comes to like headlines and a little paragraph like that, they were right to the point. They were like, Jack Kirby is working on Commandy. He's writing and drawing Commandy, OMAC, and the Losers. Back then, he had a contract where he had to get 15 pages a week out to DC. And then it said, but he has completed and finished 3 issues of the Dingbats, which will have been shelved and will not see print. A few years later, there was a series called DC. DC First Issues or something like that. And it was just them beginning unpublished work, and Dingbats made it in there. Manhunter made it in there. Dr. Fate made it in there. Metamorpho put it in there. A new Starman put it in there. So, yeah, they didn't know what was coming. So these were very cool to find. There we go. Let's get a good look at them. Inside Comics. CC Beck cover with this dude here. And I'm off my game this morning. Anyway, you get the point. All right. Let's put those to the side with the dreaming. Now let's get to the comics. What do we got here? We got the Sumerian. Wow, I didn't expect the Saturday vid. Just wanted to ask you, are you going all day to Blue Ridge Rock Fest? I'm going I think we're 4 or 5 days with our tickets. We already have a hotel room. Hey, Paolo, what's up, man? Paolo was on, I caught a little bit of the show, Cavern of Chaos, that's carried over to Jared Osborne's show. So good to see you, brother. It's some good talk going on. I actually fell asleep listening to the rest of the show last night, which is a good thing. Alice Cooper Day. Yeah, Alice Cooper, Anthrax. Blue Ridge Rock Festival is a huge event. I think it's like the second or third festival going on. They got a lot of different kinds of metal that's going on there. And in the middle of it, they just sort of Alice Cooper, Anthrax, Tenacious D. I've seen Ghost before. They didn't really get, they didn't really impress me. But the Anthrax is one of those bands where we're going to be able to check them off the bucket list because I never got to go see them. All right. Comic Crack is here. Morning, guys. I think I've got a book here. I think you recommended, Comic Crack, so stick around. I've got a lot of comics to go through. I almost tried to message you on Instagram, but I didn't want to weird you out and stuff, right? Great. A lot of guys here, man. Hey, I passed up Lady Cop. I'll go ahead and tell you. You were soothing. You guys were not boring. You were soothing, man. Yeah. Mudvayne. Okay. Mudvayne. Nice. If they're there, I might try to pop them in there. But the biggest thing is what I was trying to get at is we ended up going. I'm going to go ahead and tell you about the Blue Ridge Rock Fest, since everybody's popped here for 60 seconds, and then we'll get to the long box, the short box here of comics. But basically, my wife, now I like him, don't get me wrong, but I'm not like a super fan. But my wife, I was at work, and it was one of those days where I'm multitasking. I'm taking phone calls. I'm meeting with the supervisor. I'm taking care of clients. Doing all this stuff. So it's real busy. And all of a sudden I get my phone rings and it's the wife. So of course I want to answer. I love my wife. And I'm like, yes, dear. And she's so excited because she and her son found out that the Insane Clown Posse was going to be at this Blue Ridge Rock Festival. Here we are with this big metal festival going on. And somehow they've stuck in Nelly, Three Doors Down, and Insane Clown Posse in the mix. It's all good. No problem. You know what I mean? That's why we ended up going. I got told that the tickets were bought and the hotel rooms were booked and we're going. And I was like, all right. Yes, dear. Okay. No problem. All right. All right. People have seen Anthrax. Anthrax is a staple to me. Anyway, so now onto the comics, man. So everybody's here. Now, this book cracks me up. This is probably my third copy. We'll go third copy. I'm just going to leave it right there, right? John Byrne's Next Men number 14. Now, like I said, they get better, guys, as I go through here, right? But this book is cracking me up because I was buying John Byrne's Next Men as it came out. And this book here is number 14, and it's actually worth a little bit of money. It's got a little scratch behind it, right? It's a little infamous and stuff, right? Because in the background, in between a character's head and his word balloon, you'll see this poster, and it's Hellboy, and you can see HE and then OY on the sides of the word balloon, the name on the poster. And people were like, oh, this is the first cameo appearance of Hellboy. And for a while, people were trying to say it was the first appearance of Hellboy. That came later in the Next Men, right? And I have that one also, right? But the problem is as I was reading this and I got in here and I was just always kind of cracking up and I found it for $1. I'm like, why not? I looked in there and it is official because in the it actually has the trademark and copyright hidden for Hellboy. So in my mind, that makes it official. Okay, so it's so easy to please me. You just have to acknowledge something and be honest about it. You know what I mean? None of the speculation or things that didn't happen in the story or anything that people are speculating on. But yep, 1993. See if it's going to focus. It may not focus, but take my word on it. In there, it says 1993, Mike Mignola, copyright Hellboy. So that does make it official. Yeah, that is the first cameo appearance officially, not just a joke. Getting through this real quick. I'm gonna have to be I'm left-handed anyway today. So anyway, so we got here and we got formerly known as the Justice League. I cannot believe that this book came out for 20 years because during the 80s, I was there from the beginning, from Crisis to Legend to that awful run that finally ended the Justice League with Luke McDonnell doing the art and stuff like that, into the Giffen DeMantis era, month to month, buying those books for 5 years as they came out. And, you figured I would have jumped right back on with bringing the team back together and stuff, right? So now I'm only missing one issue of the 6-issue miniseries, and it's amazing to me how 20 years can get away from you. You know what I mean? So we'll get in there, see if it's any good, And then these next issues are totally because of my buddy, the Anderson, that I bring up a lot of stuff, right? I've already shown him the books online and his little Facebook collectors group that he has where it's a tight little knit bunch of us. Posted the pictures. He said the Vader books. He's always been pushing the Darth Vader book on me. He's like, it's good stuff. It's great. They did them right. And I'm very wary of Marvel. Not bashing them, just wary. I'm always disappointed when I finally check out one of their books or something, right? Well, apparently this is done right. So when I found these, hopefully they're going to show up. Black on black cover are really kind of hard to show on any camera that I've ever had. But these are second printings of number 7 of the Darth Vader books, which are stunning. You can look them up online. It's the second print. And here's number 10. But how can I pass this up? Red cover, like he's in hell. Probably a sandstorm or something, who knows? But he's had his costume burn up a little bit to where we see the mechanical parts of Darth Vader as he's still going after, he's unrelentless and stuff. So how can I pass that up, especially for what I paid for him? So yeah, I have 2 issues of the Darth Vader series to check out. Of course, their keys. I've already looked them up. They got their little key on my collector's app. The CLZ app. It's got their little key and characters that I've never heard of and stuff, but they are key books, I guess. And that second printing, I love the cover. I looked up the first printing. I'm like, they did better with the second printing, if I remember right, which was fantastic, right? So if I dig these, I'm going to be getting some Darth Vader in trade. I've been a Star Wars fan since I was like 5. I used to brag about how when I was a kid, I got to go see Star Wars in the theater. I always assumed it was when it came out. And then I found out when I got older that theaters, this makes so much sense. I can't believe as a kid I didn't figure it out, but theaters didn't just get the movies as they came out like they do now and keep them and move on. you could get movies 6 months after they came out, 2 years after they come out, and keep them for 6 weeks. So I may have seen Star Wars 77, 78, who knows, possibly 79. I don't know. But in my heart, the first time I'm still there, man. It was, Hey, good morning, Mastodon. Good to see you. We got Eric Breen. Don't you besmirch the Justice League Detroit, you. I got a whole video besmirching the Justice League Detroit, Breen. Vibe for life. Vibe for life. Gypsy was cool. They could have done a lot more with her. All right, what we got here? Tylox the Mighty. Seen a lot of those bands already. There's a few in there. There's been some in the mix I've seen, but there's a ton I haven't. But Anthrax is the one I'm excited about. All right, good to see everybody. Now, I buy this one as a joke. I buy this as a joke, and I don't know if I'm being an asshole about it or I think it's funny. Let me know it is coming from a place of humor. This is the third one I bought. And what's so funny is each time I get this book, it's in a little bit better shape. My brother loved this series. I checked it out. It didn't really click with me. I always felt like it was a B or C list level book, which I am not above buying. More will actually happen when there's characters you can screw around with and stuff, right? But the speculation came because Marvel did something with the copyright, renewed it or something. People were thinking movie, TV show. And I'm like, no fucking way, man. I'm like, he's not. And it turns out, I think there was just a new series. I don't know. It sizzled out. Let's put it that way. Right. But people were actually paying big money for this. Right. So this is the third one I found in the wild. And this is the most expensive one I bought, but it's also in the best shape. So there you go. But another Dark Hawk #1, So let me tell you something. If you like Dark Hawk, if you like those books where they feel like they got their own corner in a universe, and there's very little things done to them where they interact, you can get more done. You get more of a straight on storyline and stuff, right? You know what I mean? So if you're a Dark Hawk fan, I feel you. It's okay. You know what I mean? But the speculation that went on where I saw people losing their minds and the money I saw paying for a brief moment in history for this, I'm just shaking my head. So, yeah, I buy these things just to show you they're out there. Get offline, if you really want it. And don't get it just because you're afraid of losing out. Like, oh, my God, I have seen that in dollar bins and quarter bins for 30 years. So I should have got one. No. And I got this, right? I have a print of this signed by Mike Zeck. And this was my favorite cover during the Secret Wars. So I still have the one I got off the rack. I may have an extra one or something, but it's one of those books, if I do run across it, I sort of want to give it a home. Little did I know that there's some speculation going on this one. I found out as I showed these books online and stuff, right? But Secret Wars, Marvel Comics Secret Wars. And Secret Wars is kind of hot because of all the movie announcements from San Diego Comic-Con. But I don't think it's going to be the Secret Wars, guys. I think it's going to be the Secret Wars of 2015, where they found an excuse to do a crisis, not crisis story. So they could publish all these characters they haven't published in years. And I'll go ahead and tell you, comic book companies do that because if you don't publish a character in a certain amount of time, you lose the copyright. So all of a sudden you'll get these big crossovers or cameos or characters just popping up for some reason. They'll use them. And I feel like that's what Secret Wars really was from 2015. But anyway, this issue here, and what I loved about reading this as a kid, I was like 11 and 12 reading this, is by the time I got to issue 9 and then definitely this issue number 10, I was like, Jim Shooter got us. He got us. This isn't a story that's really about all these heroes crossing over for a toy line anymore. This was a Doctor Doom story. And to me, this was the final great Doctor Doom story, in my opinion, right? It finally happened. You had Fantastic Four versus Silver Surfer and Galactus, which basically was man versus God. Well, this is Doctor Doom versus Beyonder, which is basically Doctor Doom taking on God. Heavy stuff, man, especially in 2 of these issues at least. Fantastic stuff, man. Love it. Very happy to find these. I had a ton of Kirby Lee comics and a ton of Hulk comics from over the many eras and stuff. And I've said it many times. I was moving out of Roanoke 2010, I think. And I'm loading up the U-Haul by myself, kind of trying to hurry and break out, keep windows open in the apartment, trying to look at the U-Haul. I'm in the middle of a city. And yes, it took me a little while to figure out which box it was. But once I got on the track, I found out real quick that box was gone. My Silver Age, Bronze Age, a lot of my Fantastic Four. Big shout out to the great legend, because years ago he sent a bunch of burned stuff. I picked up a bunch over the years and stuff. Tried to replace them, but I'm always building up my Fantastic Four. As a kid, my favorite era is Bronze Age, but my favorite run is, of course, Kirby. Burns like right there. You know what I mean? If Burton hadn't had what Kirby built, and I'm saying Kirby, Burns' run technically, artistically, and a lot of other things probably would inch a little bit up, because he did progress the characters and stuff, but they're the ones that created them, right? I don't have to defend Fantastic Four. Who knows, right? But anyway, I found a Whitman variant of 198, which I think is just fantastic. I love this era. I still got to get issue 200 to replace it. And then we go back a little bit, and we go back to 174. Of course, the sun goes out when I'm wanting to show some colorful comics. And this is the before, of course, issue 175, where you have the fantastic cover of a High Evolutionary floating in the air, taking on Galactus, also floating in the air. This is leading up to it, bringing in the Impossible Man. I love these issues. Taking out Galactus with cosmic indigestion or something. Who knows? All right. Here we go. Palo's on this. Copyrights don't need to be renewed, but trademarks do. So it's the trademark. The trademark, you lose rights to use the name of the brand. Copyright is for intellectual output. Trademark is for commercial use. That's why I love YouTube, man. We're all in this together. Darkhawk number 50 goes for $75. I actually got something like $68. I actually got something like $68. Breen got $68 for a Darkhawk 50. That's fantastic. Yeah, low print run, I would imagine. Here we go, the Sumerian. I almost said the same thing. I remember Darkhawk, but loved Sleepwalker more. Yeah, and my number one's, I think I have a beat up copy of Sleepwalker number 1, but I would really like to know where my 4 issues of Sleepwalker went. Unsubbed. Oh, no, Breen. Come back. All right. Having a lot of fun this morning, guys. All right. Let's get that off there. Like I said, we got a lot of books, man. I'm just drinking my coffee and taking my time here. Now, this next series, as you heard, I had to be won over. Friends were talking about it. I read a few issues, got a few little trades where they only had like 4 issues in them. Great Alex Ross covers. And I read it, and it was the kind of book where I'm like, I totally get why people think this is cool. But to me, it felt like the standard. It was just, this was how great a ton of books were in like the late 80s and stuff, right? Yeah, I'm just to sound like that old man, and I've done the whole rant. Then I started finding a lot of these issues. I've gotten probably over half of this. I'm going to have to go look again, man. I had the number in my head, but I've gotten over half of this 50 issue run, going back to the single issues, the single numbered issues and stuff, for $1 a piece, right? So here's the one where I've spent the most money on, number 2, but it won me over. When I got to like issue 8 or 9, I'm like, this is good stuff, because it started having this horror sci-fi feel, like The Thing. Not that it's The Thing, the great movie The Thing, you know what I'm saying? But I was just like, nicely done. And my buddy went to a little toy show, and he ended up finding a couple issues of this book signed by the writer, which for a great price. I thought that was cool. But here's a variant cover for number 48. I think this is supposed to be manga, maybe a manga artist. I got to look it up. I don't know. But here's a variant cover for issue 48, and $2. That's the most I have paid for an Immortal Hulk issue. So I'm well over the halfway point of all 50 issues. But it doesn't end there. There was a few specials and stuff that came out or whatever. But here's the Immortal Hulk Time of Monsters I got for $1, and there was more there. They had 3. It was really odd. There's a couple of these with $3 marks on them, but I found it in a different, this is the number of the section, the antique lot. They're a lot in the store and stuff for $1. And apparently this is a key issue because we see the first Hulk from like 10 million years ago or something. I don't know. That's probably an exaggerated number. But I just love how ever since we had Alan Moore on Swamp Thing, they started adding legacy to a lot of these characters like there was more before, stuff like that. So yeah, there we go. We got some Immortal Hulk and stuff, right? Now this makes me happy. This is the kind of thing where comic books are very personal. Sometimes things that you absolutely love is for you, and it's from a different era. But of course, this character in Edgar Rice Burroughs has its fans out there still after all these years and stuff. But it's been a little underwhelming when I used to show my Joe Kubert Tarzans to people and stuff, right? But the 100-page giants from the Bronze Age, I recommend if you run across any 100-page giant from the Bronze Age there in the 70s, you go ahead and grab it, man. But I'm now just needing one issue of the it went to 100 pages there for about 4 issues, I think. And I just need one now. So we have Tarzan 235 from the Joe Kubert era when he was still on the book. Just packed, square bound, beautiful copy. This is the second one I bought off this guy out of his section of the antique mall and stuff, right? And I tell you what, man, you give me a stack of Justice League 100, DC 100 page, issues. You give me any of them like that, and I am gone for the day, man. I can just go back and forth in those. You get reprints. I think this is probably all original material, which is fantastic. That's funny. All right. Now this is Hope Comic Crack is still out there because he does the Sunday show with Sleep Reader La Raza. And I tuned in one time, and it seems like he was really talking about the Marvels by Kurt Busiek and stuff, right? And unfortunately, there was Marvel X coming out at the time, so I totally missed this. But if Kurt Busiek is going to pop in at Marvel, I'll get some Kurt Busiek. But apparently, this was some kind of miniseries or something, and this is a second printing, but it's all right. But he was talking about Marvel's being, I think, his favorite book being published at the time, or I might not be remembering it. So, Crack, if you're out there, give me a comment or something. If you're still sticking around, let me know if this is worth pursuing, because I have flipped through it, and maybe I need to sit down a little bit more with it. Now, I double dipped, right? I've talked many times about my era of the Turtles is probably from like 86 to about 1990, 91, where they ended the Mirage Studios series properly with City at War. I think it was like a 12 or 13 issue story where Eastman and Laird sort of returned to the book, and I don't know if they completely finished it with each other and stuff, right? So, and that's fine, because the Archie comics was starting up, where it was a little bit more like the cartoon, a little kid friendly, glorious covers and stuff, and everything like that. But I would pick up anything Turtles, and I double dipped on this, right? So you have Savage Dragon #2, and you have the Savage Dragon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 special here that crossed over. I will pick these up all day long. Great stuff, man. You gotta love the Turtles. Last Ronin that I have in hardback, all 5 issues, about 2-3 weeks ago. I got to sit down and read the entire series in one thing. I really need to sit down and do a review of just that book with the pages, camera on the book, turning the pages. To me, that should have been book of the year if they could have got it out on a more regular schedule and stuff. Great stuff. Okay, I'm still here. I don't know that series. Marvel's has a couple series with the same name. That's the problem. Thank you, Crack, man. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for taking that. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Shameless plug anytime, man, on this show. If anyone in the North Central Pennsylvania or South Central New York area, there is a small con in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania this weekend. Roy Thomas headlining. I'm headed up shortly. Have a good time. And I don't know if you've met Roy Thomas before or not, but at least when I met him in the early 2000s there, several years in a row and stuff like that at Heroes Con, you don't talk to Roy Thomas. You ask a question and you listen and you get the great story, and then you might be able to interject some for more detail. I highly recommend spending as much time as you can with them, depending on why you're going. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to knock you out of your searches and stuff. You're thinking the anthology one I talked about before, and it's worth it. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up, Craig. Okay, thanks, man. I'm really wanting to read that because you were so big on it and stuff, right? So, yeah, thanks, man. It's called Marvel, and it started in 2020. Okay, a little bit more clarity. Have you read the Savage Dragon Megaton Man crossover, Howler? It's funny you mentioned that because I have it downstairs in the comic book room, right on top of a stack, and I'm ready. So it will be read soon and stuff, right? So yeah. Anyway, for $1, and I cannot believe the shape that it's in. I'm not going to say it's mint. I'm not going to say it's near mint. Maybe that very fine for you people that graded comics before we got the numbers, right? But when this came out, totally missed it because it really disappeared from the rack, and I didn't really catch up on it. I would see, I think maybe people in Wizard magazine talking about it, a few of my friends talking about it. Time went on, 20 years ago. But Darwin Cook was just, anything he did was gold. People would buy it up. People who didn't buy comics regularly just bought Darwin Cook stuff. Seriously, I remember that. And that's not unusual with, casual readers and stuff. They'll find something they like or they'll hear something. And I think it had to do with the Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, more of the Bruce Timm verse cartoons, Batman Beyond. I think they knew Daryl Cooks from loving that cartoon and all of that stuff. That's how they knew about, Cook here, because he worked on that. And I think he was over the opening sequence for every episode of Batman Beyond, right? Which ended up being something very cool. But anyway, Catwoman #1. I remember people losing their minds for this. So, and what gets me is that is a 50s actress, and it's blowing my mind. I can't place her that he modeled her on, right? It's really going to kill me, and I love the lighting over her eyes, like an old film noir film of the 50s, if you will. So people went nuts over this for a while, and in my circles, it just sort of faded out. But for $1, yeah, no problem. I don't know if there's any Howard Chaykin fans out there. But I picked up a series of little, Elseworld books, if you will, Batman, because they were there. I had my stack, went through my CLZ app, almost bought 1 or 2 books, double dipping again, and stuff like that. And then when I went to take them back, because it was just staring at me, and I'm like, just get them. Just get them. You're there. It's Batman. It's Elseworlds. But from the 90s, maybe around 96, here we have Batman Dark Allegiance. Let me take it out of the bag. But Howard Chaykin one-shot, complete story. What? And then I flipped through it when I was in there. And, of course, it's gorgeous Howard Chaykin art. So, yeah, I went ahead and got it, man. Howard Chaykin's my favorite work of Howard. And it's so obscure, in my opinion, with all the other stuff that he's worked on over the years here and there and stuff like that, is Twilight, a 3-issue prestige format miniseries that came out around 1991 that he did with Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Am I going to get that wrong? Of all people to get wrong. But yeah, he wrote that, and then the art was. And then this is probably my 3rd or 4th copy of this, but I'm always picking them up because I always want a reader copy. And then when I buy them and get them out of the bag, I find out that sometimes they look and feel unread because this was the first Elseworld story, I guess, before they came up with the word Elseworld. But he had Brian Augustine and Mike Mignola come up before he was a huge superstar, do this Gotham by Gaslight where we're in Victorian England, I guess. And it's Jack the Ripper in Batman of the era, if you will. So this was just a fantastic story. And like I said, this one may be the reader's copy because you may be able to see the white line. The thing about these prestige books at the time is when you open them, it actually would make color breaks down a crease that they have for the book to open. I guess they weren't really about the collectability at the time, right? And then I finally have this, but I feel like I have it in a trade. Not your problem, mine. So if I open this up, start reading it, it's familiar. Yeah, whatever. But anyway, we have an official Elseworlds tale. It's the sequel called Batman Master of the Future. He has seen tomorrow and he hates it. In the stunning sequel to the acclaimed Gotham by Gaslight, the Victorian era Batman battles a crazed prophet who's determined to keep Gotham City from entering the 20th century. Masters of the Future is an unforgettable blend of history, fantasy, science fiction, and a kind of action that made Batman one of the world's most popular characters. That's a sale, so we'll see how good it is, right? Good stuff, right? All right, here we go. Mastodon Comics here. I used to have 3 questions that I would ask, but Claremont threw me a curveball, and I've been reluctant to ask ever since. Plus, I hate talking up too much time in a long line. Totally got you, man. I've had, yeah. It's a crapshoot sometimes when you're meeting some of these creators for the first time, and you don't know. They throw a curveball at you. I'm in the ballpark with what I think you're saying. Kingdom Comics is here. What's up? William Bird is here. Chaikin's Time Omnibus is finally coming out this month with new material to wrap it up. Oh, wow. Okay. Trying to make a middle note real quick. Nice. The Sumerian popped in there right at the last minute before I went on with the comics. Last memory I have of Darwin was him talking to a small child, telling him how much he loved his Transformer toy while he signed his dad's comic at Dragon Con. He then signed my DVD of New Frontier. Oh, that's cool. I've always kind of wondered how happy he was with the adaptation of New Frontier, considering how much they had to cut out for because they just had so much time to tell the story. I always thought it should have been a 2-parter. What's up, Primont? Good to see you. Master of the Future is a good compliment to the Gotham by Gaslight, but on its own, it's not as engaging. Gotcha. I understand that. All right. I met Jim Lee once. He was an hour late for the signing. Oh. I'm not going to start dropping dimes. What I've seen over the years with some of these guys. All right. Like I said, they're going to get a little bit better as we go along. Oh, more dreaming books. All right. Apparently I didn't have them all together, but let's show these beautiful covers. That is in the dreaming, and you find out that one of the rules of owning a gargoyle is they have to have the letter G start their name. So this is little baby Goldie that popped up in issue number 1 for Kane. For Abel, Kane already has his gargoyle, Gregory. So we'll just put those to the side. So anyway, there's a book I liked, right? And I can't help it, but when anytime any comic book company or anybody besides DC tackles multiverse or even alternative timelines, I have to shake my head because to me, DC did it first, right? At least in comics, okay? In comics and stuff, right? And of course, they had the big Crisis on Infinite Earths because it was too confusing for people and stuff, right? And then Alan Moore comes in and he was the one that started naming the proper, he gave the formula on how you named multiverse universes, in with Marvel, and Earth 616 is what he came up with for proper Marvel. June 61, because that's when it was created and stuff, right? So when I see things like their last Secret Wars in 2015, when I'm hearing about the Marvel movies with the multiverse and what I've seen a little bit of Ant-Man and Wasp and what I saw with the Doctor Strange and all this stuff, them popping through dimensions, universes, alternate stuff like that, I just can't help but think DC did it better, and I knew it wasn't that confusing, right? But then Judd Winnick popped up, Mr. The Real World of the 90s. I watched this whole season, arch nemesis of the Puck, if you go back that far. A friend with Brad Meltzer because they went to college together, and I think they were dorm roommates and stuff. But anyway, he came up through the indies and won some awards, worked at Marvel, worked at DC, made it all the way to Batman, got one of his Batman stories made that adaptation into adapted into the cartoon on the DVD, which was fantastic with the proper ending, if you will. But anyway, before that, or in the between all of that stuff, he came up with this book that he was on for about 2.5 to 3 years and had a fill-in artist, I think Chuck Austin, around the 20s and stuff, right? But he made a very cool book called Exiles with Mike McCone art starting out. And I'm a big Mike McCone fan. I hated that I didn't get to go to HeroesCon to meet him this year. But anyway, he came up with this, and it's perfect. It's Judd Winnick. You didn't have to worry about continuity so much, even though it pulled from X-Men history and other history, right? But basically, the concept was sort of like Sliders a little bit, if you want. Okay, but anyway, all these characters from alternative universes got pulled in, and they all meet each other. You have Mimic from Earth 616, and you had Blink from Age of Apocalypse, which was an excuse to get her in a book because I'm pretty sure she died. They brought in Sabretooth, and as things went on, they hit all kinds of dimensions, multiverses and stuff. And there's always a mission that they had to do. But the book had stakes, and Judd Winnick gave it its own feel. Like it has its own, even though it's a Marvel book and it's pulling from Marvel history and stuff, they could still do whatever they want, get by with a lot of stuff, do homages to everything that was going on and everything. And took some, had Morph in it. Morph was the Morph from Age of Apocalypse and stuff because he had a whole new fan base thanks to the X-Men cartoon of the 90s and stuff. But Judd Winnick did some really cool stuff in there, man. It was his thing, and that's what made it really cool. And of course, it's a bunch of characters that he can mess with. So the book had stakes. It had a rotating cast while trying to keep a few characters in there to anchor the book and keep their fans. And they really took off. I jumped on the book around probably in the 60s, when it hit the 60s, because they ended up doing what was called a world tour. And what they did is they were bringing up, having each issue, they had a story, they were bringing back Proteus from the X-Men, and they're chasing Proteus through these alternate realities, and they ended up hitting quite a few in each issue. Some books that had been canceled, some universes that had been canceled or touched upon and stuff. And I jumped in there because they went to the new universe. They put in the Squadron Supreme. They went to a few places there during that world tour, if you will. All right, moving on. What's amazing about this is just about every time I get an issue of Micronauts, and the cup has overflowed the last couple months with how cheap I've gotten a bunch of these. I mean, I'm really close to getting this series and stuff, right? But the only thing I ever read was like this X-Men minis. I had a couple issues of this in the house, and the stepdad bought them, I think, or somebody bought them. I didn't buy them, but it was the X-Men Micronauts crossover they had there for a little bit. And I remember they had an issue, I don't know, maybe 7, maybe 9. There's some Micronauts fans out there that can tell me, but Man-Thing was on the cover, right? So that was really all I read of it. And then, of course, there were the toys. I had one friend who was 5 years older than me who had the Micronaut toys, but you couldn't touch him because you couldn't go through his room. He had them right there where you could see them. But, it was all Star Wars and toys. And then it was G.I. Joe, little 6-inch. And then it was like the He-Man around the same time and all that stuff, right? So I actually got to sit down and flip through this particular issue of Micronauts. I have number 1 side on Mike Golden. That's what's funny about this. I never read the Micronauts, but anytime I buy these off of somebody, I hear the same thing from 2 or 3 people. When they were a kid, this was the only book they read. This was the only comic they read. I've heard that from 2 people I bought this off of. So I went through and I actually flipped through and read this issue 49 because, is it Butch Guice? Anyway, I think it's Butch Guice by this time doing the art. And I opened it up and I read the first 3 pages and I was like, I get it. I mean, those 3 little pages, as simple as they were pretty freaking cool, man. So I'm going to have to sit down and probably this winter when I am snowed in, sit down and I'm going to do a huge binge on the volume 1 of Micronauts. I think I'm down to needing 3 or 4 issues and I have the whole thing. So if there's any Micronaut fans out there and stuff, please comment, particular issues I need to check out and stuff or whatever, man. I mean, I'm falling backwards into them when I'm not even looking for them. Okay. Now this was something that I could finally release my breath. You know what I mean? That relief and stuff, right? Because these are Bernie Wrightston covers. I'm pretty sure they're all Bernie Wrightston covers, right? And it's not so much the character. This was a defender, if you will. And I know he has his fans. That last one doesn't look like Bernie, but I could be wrong. Maybe the first one's just Bernie because I'm finally getting my eyes on him. I'm pretty sure the first one's a Bernie Wrightston cover. But anyway, we got the Gargoyle from 1985, number one in a 4-issue limited series right there. Bernie Wrightston cover, right? The rest of them aren't, but still, I wanted to complete this. I'm really getting a fascination with, in the last couple of years, probably 3 or 4 years, I'm acting like it's recent, with like the epic line of comics that came out at Marvel, because I had no access to them. I would just kind of see, some ads in some Marvel comics. I'd see some ads in Epic magazine when we got that off newsstands and gas stations and stuff, right? But anyway, and also the miniseries that were coming out. I had the Nightcrawler, I had the Magic. They have a little charm. I think I have Hawkeye, West Coast Avengers started out as miniseries. This is when it was really all new and stuff, right? The first miniseries that was in my house was The Phantom Zone by Steve Gerber and Gene Colan, probably around 82 in there. Still have the issues, and I got a trade at Ollie's a couple years ago. So, as years have gone by, Firestar, I'm really getting fascinated with these little miniseries and stuff, when that's exactly what they were. So hopefully that might be some good stuff, right? And then I double dipped on this because I just needed one issue, and I thought I needed 3. And it's Grant Morrison, guys, and this is Come and Gone. He came on there, and it's really hard to follow up what, love him or hate him, but what Jeff Johns did in Ethan Van Sciver there, what they did with Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Sinestro Corps, Red Lanterns, gave us the Spectrum. They did some fantastic stuff on Green Lantern. So, of course, the guy came in between this and that, between Jeff and Grant Morrison here, and I'm sure he did his best and stuff. But then Grant Morrison did a take where he made it more like Hill Street Blues, sci-fi wise. Liam Sharp was coming in doing art where he was putting in all sorts of little Easter eggs and stuff. They went to a vampire planet, and there's a page where you can pick out Dark Shadows and all these other vampires and stuff from vampire movies and stuff. But he had it, but he had a goal. So there was I guess he called it Green Lantern season 1. It ended, and it ended to where we ended up having Hal Jordan become a Black Star, if you will, not a Dark Star. Again, dark covers here and stuff, right? So you had a 3-issue miniseries, and then I think season 2 came out, and then all of a sudden I didn't really get season 2 of it. I figured I'll start finding these in dollar bins and stuff. Because Grant Morrison actually ended up doing some kind of interview I saw online where he could just tell the fans in the market had changed, and that's why I don't think we're seeing comics from him right now. Hey, you have a good time today, Mastodon. I know you're gone, but that's cool. What we got here, Xavier was dark as F in that X-Men Micronauts limited series. I'm glad you're saying that. I kind of remember that before it became a running theme, Xavier being bad. I love the time traveling Micronaut toys. The time travelers Micronaut toys. Used to get them from Service Merchandise. Old fossils will know what I'm talking about. This is Graphic Man. Make sure you're checking out the Fossils show on Wednesday nights and just sub to him anyway, man. All right. Good stuff, brother. The Sumerian. What was the good Sabretooth with Wild Child? Was that the good Sabretooth with Wild Child from Age of Apocalypse? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they ran it. Is that the series in the Exiles? Yeah, those characters do pop up. Never read it. Was too into weed and girls at the point in my life. Shouldn't I read them? Why can't you have all 3, brother? Why can't you have all 3? I'm just saying. No, I recommend the first, I think 25 issues of Exiles, and then there's a break with Chuck Austin, who I'm not going to down him as a writer, but I don't buy his stuff. He burned me on X-Men. He burned me on Superman, and when I have the complete 100 issues, there will be no Chuck Austin in there. I mean, I'm real close. But yeah, they popped up in there. There's a lot of good things. Tony? Oh, a guy named Tony came on there and did some pretty good writing on there. But the Judd Winnick issues just have a feel to them. Matthew again are the Dark Stars. I have their entire 90s run, and it's an underrated series. Travis Charest, is that the guy? I think he's got some artwork in those. That guy's phenomenal. What's up? Tack Comics, brother. Haven't seen you in forever, man. Glad you're joining me on your lunch break. Cool. I guess I need to get to more comics and not waste your time, man. You only got so much time, don't you? Wasn't Metafield, the plant Green Lantern, a Dark Star before he ended up going rogue and trying to kill Jack Knight on the space mission? Unfortunately, when it comes to Metafield, if it's who I'm thinking of, man, I know him from the Englehart, Joe Staton run on the Green Lantern, and then he got pulled into Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. I know he's popped up a few more times, but I'm just not up on my Metafield, brother. God, and I have all the Jack Knight stuff, man. I can't remember him popping up in it. I remember him returning to Blue Planet. I remember Solomon Grundy. I remember the lead. Yeah, I'm going blank, Brandon. Oh, you got me. You got me. Well done. All right, guys, getting to the comics because Tat's on lunch. He only has so much time here. Let me get these out of the way. So I was talking about Hellblazer, right? And what I did is that there was probably, this guy had tons. I mean, there was probably like 150 issue run of Hellblazer, more or less. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I didn't sit there and count them and stuff, right? So a couple videos back, you know, I showed you, I popped in and got a few issues and stuff. And I went back and I got these earlier issues. And there was like issues 48, 131, whatever. You know, I had 5 or 6 more issues of Hellblazer, but I wanted other stuff, so I put them in the back. Well, when this guy came in, and it looks like he brought in those long boxes and moved the short boxes up, for some reason, all the Hellblazer stuff was gone, so I missed out. But I did get these before. That this is like 2 different visits altogether. I didn't get all the stuff at once, right? There's a payday in between, guys, right? So I had to grab this. This is issue 27 of Hellblazer, and it is Neil Gaiman and Dave McKean. And I don't know if this was a marketing thing, and I don't know if it's like an urban myth, but everybody's accepted it, or if it's just true. But for some reason, they bring Neil Gaiman on in 1990. A rising star in comics. He's not that superstar yet, but he's getting a lot of attention. A lot of it was because he was buddies with Alan Moore for real at the time. But his merit and talent and stuff made it everything well deserved. Books of Magic was coming in. Sandman was starting to take off. His career, I mean, I was there. And the way I remember it, his career really popped. He was the C4, but the blasting cap was death in issue 8 of Sandman. But anyway, he comes on here, and this had a low print run. For some reason, Neil Gaiman and Dave McKean's one issue of Hellblazer had a low print run. So it is a bit of a collectible. I don't think you're ever going to buy a car with it, but I'm just saying, if you see it, kind of grab it because it had a low print run out of all 300 issues of it. And then got number 5, which plugged up a huge hole in my collection. I now have a really good run straight through issue 5 of Hellblazer. These were $1 a piece, and this is another one of those books that I will put in my top 10 comics of all time if you read your comics and story and everything. And one of my favorite stories in there because it's really cool, man. They pull from and it feels like Jamie Delano pulled this plot from if you read it, he pulls this she pulls this plot from an early 70s horror movie. You know, it's a cult favorite and stuff, right? But it's called Newcastle. And you understand, when Constantine first came out, he would be talking to people who hated him, and he'd have to refer to Newcastle, what happened. So this is in 1977, a character who looks like Sting, who is in a punk rock band. They're all playing freaking Scooby-Doo and going to go do some occult shit in a haunted house in Newcastle in 1977, and they all get fucked up. It's a fantastic story. Hellblazer number 11. I will be buying this every issue that I find, every copy that I run across, you know, if it's in good shape. Love Newcastle. And of course, number 13. I already have this one, but I'm not going to ruin it. It turns out, I don't know, you know, but it turns out that there was actually a huge subplot going through the entire run of Hellblazer where John Constantine has a twin, but we'll leave it there because it's Hellblazer. It turns into Vertigo. It's a horror book, so it's not that simple. But this is the first appearance of Thomas Constantine, I believe. You know, so there you go. We'll just leave it at that. Check out some comments, and we are more than halfway. This is awesome. Thanks a lot, Tat. Have you had a chance to see Sandman? I actually enjoyed it. Believe it or not, I'm still not going to watch it. Not from being stubborn or anything. I got a whole video on it and stuff like that. I want it to be a huge success. I want people to discover Sandman and get in there. But honestly, between the people I work with, my comic book buddies that I see in real life, other people like on Facebook and things, one person has watched it and they told me it wasn't that bad, and they have read some of the comics. They got a hold of me and they were asking about, do I know if we're going to be doing Seasons of the Mist and stuff? And I answered some little minor Sandman trivia. He's well read, but I'm the guy that's, read this stuff for 30, since issue. Yeah. I'm the guy that's been invested in Sandman for decades. Let's put it that way and stuff. Right. But I've only had one person. And on my Facebook, Mark Hempel, Rick Vetch, a few other artists all popped in, and they're all like showing art they did the weekend that Sandman got released on Netflix. That was the most Sandman mania I've seen. I didn't see anybody of my friends. I don't even have Netflix anymore. We got it for Stranger Things 4, had it for a month, got rid of it. But yeah, the Sandman mania, apparently I really haven't seen it around here and stuff. I'm a little disappointed and stuff, right? But like I said, the one person that saw it, his review was not bad, and they got a ton of stuff right. So I hope it's a success, man. If they do seasons, I saw where Neil Gaiman said somewhere in the past week that their plans are to adapt everything that he ever wrote with Sandman, ending it with Sandman Overture, doing the prequel last. The temptation may be too much for me when they do Seasons of the Mist, because that is one of my all-time favorite comic book stories ever. And I love the actress they have playing Lucifer. She is awesome. Game of Thrones made me a fan. She made me believe in a lot of stuff. So speaking of Virgo, I know you said you were not going to see the Netflix Sandman, but it's not bad. Have you changed your mind? I think I just answered your questions before I got to it. The temptation of Season of the Mist maybe will bring me in, but really I have I have nothing. No inclination, and I only know one person that's watched it in the real life. Like I said, their review was like not bad, and I don't mean like they went into being negative. They were really like, hey, not bad. That's like giving something 3.5 stars if you know this dude out of 5. Okay, so yeah, I just realized you guys don't know him. Yeah. Now right here, really happy to get these. I'm actually about to get to Sandman book since it's been brought up. But anyway, let's get these out of the way. A little disappointed in this one. Always love finding Eclipse Miracle Man. And I've never really ran across this. And when I got the trades, the hardback trades that Marvel put out a couple years ago, I was counting up the stories that they put in there and was a little confused. Like, how could this have been a single issue? It seems like they skipped something, right? So I finally ran across number 8. Luckily, I didn't pay that much for it at all. And I get in here, and it turns out this is all reprints from the 50s. What happened was apparently there was a flood, and it hit Eclipse's office or something at the time. They actually have a cartoon. They actually have the editor or somebody talking. Somebody drew it out, her talking and explaining things. And what it did is that they were like, there's no major damage, but it did blow the Miracle Man schedule all to hell. So we got like a bunch of 50s reprint stories in here of when he was Marvel Man, but of course it's Miracle Man, So, and then some extra pages of this thing called New Wave and stuff. So I was a little disappointed, but finally had an answer to question. I was like, something seemed off in those hardbacks and stuff, right? But that's okay because I found these. And I will tell you, I paid $4 a piece for them. Not like the Howler Mouse channel, I know, but that's good. But we got these beautiful copies. Now, I'm not a guy who sends stuff to CGC or really ever think about that stuff, right? But I opened these and I put them right back because these are from 1987 and they smelled like brand new comics with creamy pages. I have no idea how this person who owned these kept these in near mint condition. This is probably in my collection, I've probably said 10 books were actually near mint that I would be confident about. These are near mint. So again, I was all giddy. Here's number 12. I now have 2 of those. And one of the books I just figured I would never find in great shape because I love this cover for some reason. Seriously. There's actually an issue of Cerebus where he's hanging out with a countess at her place and they're sitting by a window. And in my mind, I know this is going to sound weird, but this is what happens when you read a bunch of comics and in your mind they can mix and match. But there's an issue around in the 50s, I think, which is sad because it's one of my favorite Cerebus issues. But he's hanging out with a countess and the countess is secretly in love with him. And service is all about gold, but they spend time in front of this window that has a perch that they can sit on. They're looking down on her garden that he was walking around with earlier in the day, and they're talking about past lovers and things like that. It's very poetic and stuff, right? And for some reason, I feel like when they're looking down, they're seeing he's sitting in the garden with issue 13. I may have just embarrassed myself with that, but I can see it in my mind, Why? What are you going to do? And now we're here with Sandman. Hey, Legend popped in here. Good morning, Howard. Good to see you, Legend, man. And thanks for tagging me and mentioning me on Instagram the other day. That was pretty cool, man. Out of the blue. Tat. Hey, thanks, man. Good. Sumerian, will you get the Miracle Man Silver Age continuation? Pre-ordered. The only book I am pre-ordering now, which just blows my mind after I went through my Gmart comic book online store list and stuff. 0 and number 1 is Silver Age. I'm so ready for it. Yeah, I'm down. I'm not going to go on and on about this one, but if you read it, do you know a lot of comic book collectors who don't read their books? Yes, tons. It blows my mind. And the reason I'm not going to go on about it is that I'm not bashing them. It's just I have more of appreciation. I'm ready to have more of a conversation with people who read their books. If that makes any sense, it gets me hyped up. Okay. All right, brother. You have a good day at work. Everybody wish Tad a good day at work, man. All right. So now we are into some more Sandman. If you popped in, I don't know, maybe two, 3 videos back at the same vendor, I actually got all giddy. I was exhausted from my 3-day trip. I don't want to make excuses, but I'm just kind of saying I could have been in better form, if you will. But I made about a 5-minute video where right in the parking lot, I got all excited because I found these early issues of Sandman for $1 a piece. Yeah, we're about done, guys. Yeah, we're getting there. All right. Oh, crap. I've taken out so many books, they've collapsed, if you will, right? So I got giddy. I found issue 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, whatever, of Sandman, early issue. Now, I already have a full, complete set. I needed issue 7 to be mint because that was the first Sandman book I was able to get my hands on when I was about 15 or 16, probably 16, right? And what I told you is in Walden Books, they would take these books and they would put a sticker on it for their UPC symbol so they could scan it. My little brain is like, well, I want to keep it mint. I bought Elementals number 3 from volume 2, Sandman number 7 the same night. Sandman number 7 has some fantastic art. I always get 6 and 7 mixed up in my brain for some reason, right? But issue 7 is where there's a big splash page of Sandman sitting there in his black T-shirt, in his jeans, and he's got Dr. Destiny, if you will, John D. in his hand. That was iconic to me. The fact that he was in plain clothes and blew my mind. Great stuff, right? But I found a mint in one. I finally, it took so many years, but I found a mint and it was for $1, right? So anyway, but now I could probably get the whole series just about of Sandman, minus 1, 4, and 8 and stuff like that. If I just wanted to spend the money and have 2 complete sets, right? But I grabbed these. I'm getting the earlier issues I went on as I ran across them. They had Game of You, Brief Lives, The World's End. They had pretty much almost all the issues up until 75, the last time I was there, with a couple issues being bought up. They had The Wake, all that stuff, right? So anyway, I got these. This is my favorite Sandman story besides Seasons of the Mist, Night of 1,000 Cats. $1. These were $1. Dream Country. None of these are the air issues. $1, right? Mint, unread, just about, right? That's the one that won the Fantasy Award for literature, sci-fi literature. That issue won, I think it was a Saturn Award or something. I can't remember, right? But it made the news. It made Neil Gaiman name really get out there and stuff like that. And then they turned around, because I'm always telling you, the stigma of comics will never go away. There will be more people, more tolerant, more accepting. It's a lot, it's so much better than what it used to be, but it's still there because after a comic book won that prestigious award, they changed the rules where a comic book can no longer win. Anyway, and then we have Element Woman's story with death in it. And then we get to the good stuff, right? A key issue here, right? First appearance of, I think, Delirium and who was it? Delirium. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, a bunch of the Endless pop up in here and stuff when we start getting dark covers, guys. Dark covers, okay, by Dave McKean, right? And we start the Seasons of the Mist, the prelude to it and stuff, right? But yeah, I got the entire Seasons of the Mist. This is a huge key, number 22, first appearance of Daniel, who will become the new Sandman. And I love how we get like little riddles for titles of each stories and stuff, right? I have this one beat up, but now it's well loved, and now I got another mint set. But I can just go through here, man. I have another complete set of Seasons of the Mist. Great stuff, man. Unread. Dave McKean covers need to be enjoyed in your hands looking at them. You can probably get I think there's a Sandman dust covers. I have it downstairs where you get to flip through and really look at the covers by Dave McKean and how he made them. They all weren't just drawn. He gets mixed media and will actually make these things, you know. This went huge. I think they announced some kind of TV show or something, man, but this is Sandman, number 25, yeah. First appearance of Death Boy Detectives, because hell was shut down and these two kids from different eras of a school get to be ghosts and detectives and stuff. They got spin-offs and little miniseries and stuff. But I can go on, and I'm just real proud to have these, right? And one that I'm kind of predicting, I don't usually spec like this, and it's speculation. I hate that word spec. Spec is Pee Wee Herman's dog in his movie, The Big Adventure. But anyway, this is one of the books where I've never figured out why it wasn't worth more. In my mind, it would make sense if it was, but it was The Death of Morpheus, number 69. Mint condition. So yeah, I jumped up there and grabbed this one first thing and stuff. And I'm kind of wondering if they do fulfill what Neil Gaiman wants to do on Netflix. Will these books jump up as each, as it goes up? A lot of people don't know that Morpheus is going to die if they haven't read the books. Surprise. All right, what we got left in here? Trying to make sure I'm not double dipping and showing things I've already shown. Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and get these out of the way. We'll look at comments. We're going to call it a day, guys, because there's Sandman Presents. These were miniseries that came out, and they actually sort of replaced the Dreaming series after they canceled it with issue 60 after having Daniel the Sandman pop up and stuff. But they had this line of Sandman Presents was a bunch of miniseries. I think these were going on in the 90s, and then they picked up. But everything you wanted to know about dreams. And this is, I can't wait to read this. Bill Willingham, Kevin Nolan, Mark Buckingham, some great words there. And it's things like, why are some of your dreams sexual and stuff? They're supposed to answer, Vertigo style, I guess, why you have sexual dreams and why you dream the things you do. And then I got some more Hellblazer. I've always been fascinated with Jack the Ripper. Strangely enough, since I was a kid, right? I remember, documentaries in the 90s. I remember some TV movie or something in the 80s, documentaries. And I've actually been watching on YouTube during the pandemic. This lady has done this 1 hour tour walking you through London, taking you to 3 of the 5 places where the women were murdered by Jack the Ripper and stuff, right? So I'm assuming this Hellblazer that I needed is Jack the Ripper. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, anytime you do a London foggy scene with a smokestack cap and a knife, where's your mind supposed to go? And it's Garth Ennis. And then Warren Ellis 139 of Hellblazer. To me, there's certain, after reading a ton of Hellblazer books, I've noticed that some writers are just, some stories are just better than others. And it seems like the people who are English proper seem to be the ones to watch. Garth Ennis, Warren Ellis, that kind of thing. So that should be good. What do we got here? Yeah, and that's about it, guys. So now I got stacks of comics on my kitchen table. I got to get these back in. And like I said, I want to make a little breakfast and take a nap and probably go to the gym. Then tomorrow I'm going to go kayaking. So people that have popped in here, there won't be a rainy day Sunday show tomorrow. I'm going to load we'll strap the kayak on top of the car tonight. And I have a security cam. It's okay. I have a security cam. And then I'm probably going to go kayaking in the morning. So if the weather holds up. Okay. What do we got here, man? Whoa. You guys have really popped in here. Awesome, guys. Jeez. Well, we could just do a whole show here on comments, man. What do we got here? Maybe I haven't read this one. Matthew, I got myself a pickup today of the first 3 omnibus. Batman by Grant Morrison. Good run. Awesome run. There are Doc Stars. Yep. Oh, I'm way back there. Let me go back up here. I had a whole bunch of, I don't know what's going on. I've had little StreamYard issues off and on for like the past 2 or 3 months. And I've just had a whole crap load of comments load up in between the ones I've already read. Here we go. Okay, we're getting out of the marsh. Great Legend. Here we go. Great Legend. Let's try this one. I'm currently reading the weekly series 52. Lots of booster in the beginning. Yeah. It gets better. Let me tell you something. And what they did, my friends actually, when my friends found out that Rip Hunter, these people know that's one of my favorite characters, when they found out that Booster Gold and Rip Hunter were related, if you will, they actually were like trying to figure out how to break it to me and preparing themselves for me to flip out before I walked into the store that they worked at. It was a game store, comic book store. Yeah. Reading digital, but have physical in my own collection. I haven't read yet. That's hilarious. I appreciate your answer. I run in circles that don't always believe me that there's people that buy comics and don't care about reading them. Oh, yeah. And I think that's been a lot of the case for years. It's just we're more aware of the numbers out there, I mean, I know a guy who just bought G.I. Joe. He's happy as shit to have an entire run of the Marvel's G.I. Joe book, and he's happy with that. Unbelievable, because that show's on Netflix. Neil Gaiman has been around for a while. Yep. I remember when Sandman made the news for getting literary awards. Ash on Comics. Yep. That was a big deal at the time. Hey, Rob Ripa, good to see you, brother. The Great Legend show. I'm surprised they didn't cost more. Maybe they didn't know that what they had. No, they didn't know. You need to check out the last 2-3 Comic Haul videos, man. I was little kid, 3rd grade giddy about it, man. I was actually shaking one time. Get excited about this stuff. Comic Noob. Talking about reading comics, for some reason I would read a Bronze Age book physically, but a modern book I'd rather read digitally, even if I had the physical copy. Because of the smell and the feel. My guess is older comics have a lot more to look at than just the book. The ads, the editorials, the letter pages, the feel, the pulp paper, the smell. I mean, I get it. You may have some other reason I'm not thinking of, Yep. Spec has its place, but not as a priority. How's it going, Legend? Good to see you. Oh, yeah, Rob. Yeah, people reuniting. Gosh, yeah, keep them coming, guys. I'm going to keep reading. I got the entire Sandman run except for number 8. I always thought I'd get around to picking it up, but never did. that's now good luck, brother. Now hope that doesn't become your white whale, if you will, with the Netflix series going and stuff. Great legend is in join retirement. I am jealous, brother, and happy for you all at the same time. Love how delight became delirium. I think she thought they were the same thing. Oh, great legend, talking to everybody. Okay. Hey, great legend. Thanks so much, Tim. You inspire me to keep reading after shoot them plus years. Yeah, a lot of years. Appreciate your legend. You inspire me also, man. Over 10 years. Yep. Well over 10 years. A lot of people forget great legend. They don't forget. They just, a lot of our people who watched us have come and gone and gotten older and got out of here and things like that. But great legend, there's one of the OGs of the comic book community, man. Who's your favorite Hellblazer writer? Believe it or not, with great writers like Warren Ellis and Grant Morrison. I mean, some great people come on there and done some stuff. Pete Milligan, a lot of these other people and stuff like that. Jamie Delano underwhelmed me when I first started reading the Hellblazer series, right? She had to follow up on Alan Moore with what little he did with Alan Moore and like Swamp Thing and wherever he popped up. He didn't pop up a lot and stuff, right? But what happened is I read 3 or 4 Jamie Delaney issues right off the bat, the beginning of them, and I was just sort of like, wow, there's nowhere to go for up. Well, how wrong I was, because her stories haunted me. I would be laying in bed, about to go to sleep, and then I would wake up and I'd be thinking about her stories. I'm not talking about like scaring the shit out of me. No, nothing like that. It's just I ended up thinking about her stories. So whatever she did in those stories, it's like they seeped into my brain and my subconscious would be thinking about them. It was great stuff, man. Well, guys, we're going longer than I wanted, guys. So thanks for everybody that has commented. Thanks for everybody that's been out there. Oh, thanks, Sylvia. Appreciate it, Sylvia. Thank you. And all right, guys. You guys be excellent each other. Have a great weekend. Thanks for popping in. Like, share, sub. Let people know we're there. I'm really proud of this haul, so get it out there, man. And, be excellent to each other. Not much left to say.